All right, how you doing today, guys? Welcome back to another day of 7th grade math. This is Mr. Gomez, your favorite teacher in the whole world. And today, we're going to go over dividing rational numbers. And I have already talked about this. I'll leave a link for you on the video over here in the card. So I'm going to go a little bit faster. If you want more details about how to divide, you can go ahead and check that video or any other video on the playlist about rational numbers. Before I do that, please go ahead and consider subscribing, turn the notification bell on so you don't miss any future content. If you want to support the channel, link down in the description. Other than that, let's go ahead and get started. So, dividing rational numbers, I'm going to do numbers 1, 2, 4, 6. 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 9, 11, 12, and then the two word problems at the bottom. So number 1 says find each quotient. The quotient is the answer for a division. The quotient is the answer for the division. So number 1, students ask me, Mr. I don't know how to do that one. So the process right here, we have a fraction divided by an integer. So anytime you have an integer that doesn't have a decimal or a whole number, all you gotta do is put a 1 under. And then you can start doing the keep, change, flip, or keep, change, change, or you can use multiply crossed ways. So for this one, if you do the keep, change, flip, you're gonna have 1/2 times 1/3. This is negative. Now, if we look at the sign rules, I have a negative and a positive, so my answer is going to be negative. And all I got to do now is multiply straight across. 1 times 1 is 1. 2 times 3 is 6. And since I can't simplify that any further, my answer is going to be negative 1/6. If you have any questions about this question, number 1, please leave them down in the comments below. Other than that, I'm going to do number 2, but I'm going to do it in a different way. I'm going to, instead of doing keep, change, flip, or keep, change, change, I'm just going to do cross multiply. So first of all, I still have an integer, so I'm going to put a 1 under and now make it a fraction. Now, if I look at my signs, I have a negative and a negative, so it's going to be happy. It's going to be positive. My answer will be positive. So now, I'm going to multiply top to bottom and put it up top. And then I'm going to multiply. So now, for the bottom, I'm going to multiply in a cross pattern way as well. But I'm going to put it on the bottom. So my answer, since I already have the orange, I'm going to do 1 times 3 is 3. Put it at the bottom. And the pink one is 6 times 4, which is how much? 6 times 4 is 24. 24 thirds. At this point, I have an improper fractions. We talked about those. So there's two things that you can do. You can either convert them into mixed numbers, or you can see if you can divide. 24 divided by 3, in this case, is just how much? How many times those 3 go into 28? This is T-ball, remember. 3 goes into 28 how many times? How many times is that? 8. So my answer is 8. That's it. All right, number 4. We have a fraction, but we have it with decimals. We have a fraction, but we have decimals on top, so we don't like decimals on fractions. So we're just going to go ahead and do TiVo, top in, bottom out. TiVo, top in, bottom out. So 5.25 divided by 15. Now, at this point, this is a long division. These are the ones that many of you struggle with the most. So let's go ahead and figure this out. First of all, can I fit, how many times does 15 go into 5? You can't, right? It's 0. So you just put in a 0, bring the decimal up, and then move forward. How many times does 15 go into 52 now? It's gonna go in 3 times. 15, 30, 45. So 3 times. 3 times 15 is gonna be 45. At this time, we're gonna subtract, and we're gonna get 7. Now, at this point, we're not done because we still have things in there that we don't need. So we're gonna bring this 5 down. Now I have a 75. And you're gonna ask yourself, how many times can 15 go into 75? Right here. That's 15, 30, 45, 60, 75. How many times is that? 15, 30, 45, 60, 75. How many times is that? 5. 5 goes in. 5 times 15 is literally 75. This is very good because now we have no remainder, and my answer is going to be 0.35. Both of them are positives, so my answer stays positive. Just like that. Any questions so far? If there's any questions, please leave them down in the comments below. Pause, subscribe, notification bell on. Let's move on to the next one. Number 5. So in fractions, remember top in, bottom out. But if they're written like horizontally like this, the first one always goes in, and the second one always goes out. First one in, second one out. Always. So now we're just gonna divide. Top in, bottom out, first one in, second one out. So 24 goes inside. The bottom is 3.2. Let's not worry about the signs in the division per se, but let's look at the signs that I have. I have a positive and a negative. So my answer has to be what?
Positive.
Sad. Negative, right? My answer is going to be negative. Let's get that out of the way. If you have multiple choice, cancel out all the positive ones. Now, in this case, we have a similar division than to the previous one. However, the decimal is not outside, and we cannot deal with that. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna move every time you have decimals, you're gonna bring them all the way to the door, to the edge, and you're gonna count how many spaces you move. In this case, we only move 1 digit, 1 place. So since we changed the outside, we gotta keep it consistent. We're gonna have to change the inside. We're gonna move the decimal on the inside 1 side to the right as well. 1 time to the right. But mister, there's no decimal inside? Yes, there is. The decimal is at the end. Whenever you don't see a decimal, the decimal is always gonna be at the end. So from here, you're gonna move 1 time. Now what, mister? You're filling in with zeros. So now it's not 24, it's 240. And the outside is not 3.2, it's 32. They changed. So now, can 32 go into 2? No, right? 0. Can 32 go into 24?
No.
No, 0. Or you can place an X over here. X or 0, placeholder, just so that you know where you're going to put in your first whole number. Okay? Because remember, I don't have any decimals yet. Now we're going to estimate. I have 32 and 240. Let's think of 32 is really close to 30. Okay? Very, very close. So we're going to do 30, 60, 90, 120, right? 150, 180. What is next? 2100 and 2400. How many times is that?
8.
8. However, 30 is less than 32. So we're going to do 1 less time. So we're going to do 7, right? 7. 7 times 32 is how much? 32 times 7. What is it?
We're dividing, right? We're dividing.
No, we're multiplying. In this step, we have to multiply. 7 times 2 is 14. 7 times 1 is 21. And 1 is 224, right? So that number, you're going to put it over here, 224, and you're going to subtract. It just got a little more complicated, but it's just a multiplication and division. That's all we're doing. Now we're going to subtract. So when you subtract this, you get what? 16?
Yes.
Now, am I done? No. Is my remainder 0? No, it's not. At this point, you could write it as a mixed number, and that will be 7, 16, and 32, and then you will have to simplify this to get the most simplified version. But we're gonna leave it as a decimal. We might come back and write it. So if you simplify this, it will be 8 16, and then if you divide by 4, this by 8, this will be 1/2. So it'll be -7 and 1/2, or -7.5. Let's see if that's the case, right? So 7 into 32. Am I done? No. So now I have to add a 0. Add a 0. And bring the decimal up. Bring the 0 down. How many times does 32 go into 160? Again, we gotta estimate, right? So 30, 60, 90, 120, 150. So I'm gonna say 5 times. 5 times 32. Let's see, 32 times 5. How much do I get? That's 0. That's 5, and that's 5 times 3. That's 160. So I'm gonna subtract 160. My remainder is 0. And what is my answer?
Yeah.
What is my answer?
7.5.
Which is what I had right here, right? So the answer is -7.5, or 7 1/2. Any questions so far?
-7.5.
The answer is going to be -7.5, unless I ask you to unless they give you the answer choice as a mixed number, then the answer will be -7 1/2, which we did over here that I said you simplify it. All right, let's look at number 6. We have another one, but now, real quick, let's look at the signs. Is my answer going to be positive or negative? Negative. Are you sure?
Yes.
Positive. So which one is it, negative or positive? Positive. Why positive? It's happy. My answer is going to be positive. Now, again, this one goes up. The first one always in. Like if you stand outside the door, who's going to come in first? First one, right? In the line. And then outside. So first one in. And so it's going to be 0.5 divided by 0.125. Oh man, we have decimals inside and outside. So that blows. Nobody likes those. I don't like them, but we're going to do the same thing. Watch. Outside, how many decimal places do I have? 1. So I move it to the end. Over here, I do the same thing. So now it's going to be 1.25 divided by 5. So this is going to be, if I rewrite this, let's see if I can move this. Now we're going to have 5 divided by 1.25. Now, how many times does 5 go into 1? 0. Bring the decimal up because we're at that stage now. Next, how many times does 5 go into 12? 2. 2 times 5 is 10. Okay? Subtract and you get what? 2 and bring down the 5.
25.
How many times does 5 go into 25?
5, 10, 15, 20.
5, right? 5 times. 5 times 5 is 25. When you subtract, you get 0. So your answer is going to be
0.25.
0.25. How will you write this as a fraction?
25, 30. No.
Money. Think about money. How much is that? How many what?
No, a quarter.
A quarter. How do you write it?
A quarter.
How do you write what goes on top?
One on the side, on one bottom.
No. One what? 1 quarter. How much is that? What number is quarter?
25.
How will you write 1 quarter as a fraction? 1 quarter. 1/4. Come on. So either one of those two answers will be acceptable. Any questions so far? All right. If you have any questions or if you haven't subscribed, do so now. Let's move to number 9. Number 9. Let's look at my answer sign. Is it going to be positive or negative?
Positive.
Negative, because I have a negative and a positive, so it's going to be sad. The answer, whatever, is going to be negative. So if you have answer choices at this time, eliminate anything that can be positive. All right. Now we have mixed numbers. Before we can divide, we're going to have to convert those into improper fractions. Or you can convert them into decimals. However, the 1/3 is not going to be a terminating decimal, so it's going to blow for you if you do it like that. It's the same thing. It's just a negative at this time. So we're gonna come, and we already went over this, so I'm not gonna move too slow on this one, because if you wanna see how to convert those into into improper fractions, watch the other video. Over here, we're gonna multiply and add. 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3, and the bottom is wait. Let me do it over here. 3/2. That's the first one. Negative divided by. Multiply, then add, put it on top. 3 times 3 is 9, plus 1 is 10/3. And we're just gonna go ahead and do keep, change, or we can cross it. Which one would you like me to do? Okay, so it's gonna be keep, change, or keep, change, flip, whatever you want to call it. Negative 3/2 times 3/10. Multiply straight across. Negative, because negative and positive is negative. 9. The bottom is 20. Negative 9/20. Can we simplify that any further?
No, because 20 is...
So the answer will be negative 9/20. If they ask you to leave the answer as a decimal, you can do it 2 ways. Let me show you. You can either do TiVo, or we can convert this into hundreds. How, mister? This one is actually pretty easy. Now, you can leave the answer like that, but let me show you. What can you multiply the bottom to get 100? What can you multiply 20 to get 100? Yes, sir. 5. So if I multiply the top times 5, what do I get? 45 hundredths, right? How do you write 45 hundredths as a decimal? Literally, you're reading out the number. What is it? 0.45. Either or will be correct. Y'all remember how to do this now? Remember, if the bottom is an even number, Well, multiple or 5 or something like that, something that you can multiply by and get 100, is gonna be really easy to convert into decimal. Let's see what we have over here. Number 11. Top and bottom out. TiVo.
Divide.
We're gonna divide. Now, when you have something like this, you can also move. How many decimal places do I have on the top?
1.
And on the bottom?
1.
If you move them to the right, this is gonna be 42 over 24. You can do that too. If you add 2 decimals, you move it twice. Three times. No? But you can simplify that to start with, right? So if I divide both of them by 2, what do I get? I get 21, and on the bottom I get 12. This is another approach. You can do TiVo from the get-go. You can do TiVo from the get-go, okay? But I'm trying to do something different right here. Now, think about it. How many times does 12 go into 21? We're going to try to do this one in our heads. How many times is that?
1.
1 time. That's my whole number. 1 times 12? 12. Subtract that from 21. 21 minus 12. How much is that? And put it on top. How much is that? 21 minus 12 is? You got to start being able to use your minds real quick. 21 minus 12 is 9. And the bottom is going to be 12. Now you have a mixed number. Now, can I simplify that mixed number? The fraction, just the fraction by itself. Can I simplify that? Yes. Look at this. Can I divide both of them by 2? By 2? No. What about by 3?
Yes.
Yes. So that will be what? 1 3/4, right? Now remember, this is positive and negative, so my answer has to be negative. How can you write 3/4 as a decimal? How much money is 3/4?
75 cents.
How do you write that as a decimal?
0.75.
Either or is the answer. And we kind of did it in our heads. Now, if you don't know what I did, you can always go back and do this right here. We're going to take it from here or from here. It doesn't matter. 42 divided by 24. That goes in 1 time. That's 24. You subtract and you get how much? 18. And then you have to add a decimal, add a 0, bring it down, blah, blah, blah. Keep on going. So which one is faster? I would simplify at least first and then do TiVo right here. But I guess we can, if you have a mixed number, you can always convert that into a decimal. We're going to come back to that at the end of the video, okay? So stay tuned for the end of the video. I'm not going to do the long division for this one. I'm going to show you how to convert any mixed number into a decimal. I mean, any division fraction into a mixed number. Number 12. Number 12. Okay. So, faster. Both of them are negative. My answer is going to be positive. These two, you put it on top. Or you can do keep, change. What's 5 times 16? 5 times 10 is 50. 5 times 6 is what? 30? So this is 80. Right? Now I'm going to multiply these two and then put them on the bottom. 8 times 5 is 40. Right?
Wait, Mr.
45.
Is there a number to the side of 516?
It's a negative.
Oh.
It's not 45. 8 times 5 is 40. 9 times 5 is 45. Okay? Now, at this point, you can simplify. But look at the top and the bottom. What do they two have in common? The top and the bottom. They both what?
Negative.
No. Yeah, but what else do they have in common? They're whole numbers, yes, but
They both have the top number.
they both have the top number.
Oh no.
They both have what? They both end in zeros, right? So whenever they both end in zeros, you can cancel the last zero out. It's like dividing by 10. Or if they have two zeros, both of them, you can cancel the last two zero out, and it'll be the same thing as simplifying by 100. And if you don't believe me, you can just go ahead and start simplifying from 80 and 40, half of that, whatever. But in this case, how many times does 4 go into 80? I mean, 4 into 8.
2 times.
That's it. How many times does 40 go into 80?
2 times.
It's the same thing, right? So see how everything works out at the end? All right, a couple more. Number 18. A 35-meter length of cable is cut into pieces that measure 1.25 meters each. Keyword to divide. Into how many pieces the cable is cut. So we're going to divide in, out. We're going to divide 35 meters into 1.25. So, again, decimal 1, 2. From here, 1, 2, and add zeros. So this just got complicated because it's 125. How many times does it go into 3? I don't know. Into 35? I don't know. Into 350. Well, it's going to be maybe 3 times. 125 and 125. That's 250. No, it's going to be 2 times. 2 times 125, that's 250. We're going to subtract and we get 100. The decimal is right here. No, it's not there. Never mind. Because we moved it. The decimal is at the end now. Now, at this time, we're going to bring this zero down. How many times does 125 go into 1,000? And that is going to be 8 times. 8 times 125 is 1,000. And when you subtract, you get 0. So how many pieces did we get out of the 35-meter long cable? 28 pieces. That's it. The first one goes in. Number 19. 4 1/8 tons of gravel is spread evenly across 2 1/6 acres. How many tons of gravel on each acre? Again, so we have 4 1/8 divided by 2 1/6. First, we gotta convert them into improper fractions. Multiply and add. 8 times 4 is 32 plus 1 is 33, and the bottom is 8. Divided 2 times 6 is 12 plus 1 is 13, and the bottom is 6. Now you can do keep change, but since I don't have a lot of space, I'm just gonna cross multiply. 33 times 6, how much is that? 198. And 13 times 8 is 104. At this time, you can go ahead and simplify. Or do T-vote. So, how many times does 104 go into 198? 1 time. And then 198 minus 104 gives you 94. Like that. But you can go ahead and simplify. So you can at least divide both of them by 2. So this will be what? 194 divided by 2 is 47. And the bottom is what? 52. And that will be your final answer.
152.
147 over 52. If nobody has any question, or if anybody has any questions, please leave them down in the comments below. If you learned something today, make sure you give it a like. Don't forget to subscribe, turn the notification bell on if you haven't done so. Check out my other channel, MTV Alex. Other than that, that is it for this one, and I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.
Bye.